Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tami Patzer.
Hi, this is Tami Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Anna Vanlandingham. She's been a Pinterest specialist for almost 4 years. She's been recognized as one of the top 100 women in e-commerce in 2014 by We magazine, and she utilizes her international award-winning economics teacher skills to educate groups such as Rotary clubs, e-commerce groups, realtors, and chambers of commerce individuals who can leave the meeting with a different perspective on Pinterest. Once they listen to Anna, these people come to realize that the power of Pinterest for men and women is a tool, not just for women, because there's a really big myth about Pinterest being just a board for women. Anna's going to bust that myth. She specializes in working with business owners, especially those in the entertainment industry, housing industry, and travel industry, and she helps them understand how to use Pinterest to drive business back to their websites. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much for letting me be on this show today. I appreciate it, and I'm really excited about talking about Pinterest because I love doing that.
I'm really excited too because Pinterest, it's only been around for about 4 years. So I take it that you were a Pinterest pioneer, and I'd like to know, who are you currently helping?
Right now, what I do is I have business owners that I manage their accounts for them. And right now, for example, I have a jeweler who does real high-end engagement rings and wedding bands. And but I also have a tech company. I've managed an account for a dance movie that, a Hollywood dance movie, not just, YouTube thing. But I really focus a lot on the housing industry, and because I've worked with contractors, interior designers, and some real estate agents who really, to me, Pinterest is a perfect format for them. But it's been a little bit difficult to convince realtors that is a good idea.
Isn't that interesting? Because Pinterest is something that it's so visual. And
Yes.
Real estate, how do you think people decide if they want to look at a home? It's not about 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. It's about seeing it, and you can literally sell a house with photos. And I am absolutely living proof, because I used to have a real estate TV show, and all it was back in the day, in the late 80s, photographs of the exteriors and interiors of the homes, and people would literally contact the realtor to go look at the home, and they sold millions of dollars worth of homes off of images, and Pinterest does that. And I'm not really 100% up on Pinterest right at the moment. So for our audience, can you just give me an overview of what Pinterest is and what it does today?
Sure. With Pinterest, of course, you have boards, and I always tell people to think of it like bulletin boards. That seems to have been the best analogy to get the point across. And you pin or put images on those boards to attract people's attention. Along with that, each one has a description, and you want to include your keywords there. But also, each one of those images is a clickable link to your website. And it's a place for you to really showcase your service or your product and let people get to know you. I say it's like a gigantic networking meeting, and you don't even have to get dressed up and put on lipstick to go, because you have all of these people that are on Pinterest daily, and so what you have to do is figure out what's going to grab their attention. And so, for example, with say a realtor, I always say, think about what people ask when they're thinking about buying a house. And they ask, what's the neighborhood like? What are the schools like? What kind of shopping is near? Well, highlight those kinds of things and community activities. Even, the local police department, highlight that on one of your Pinterest boards. And that way you're giving information out. And you're giving good information. And so therefore, then they will click on that image and go to your website and contact you about buying a house. Very similar to what you're talking about with the TV show.
Yes. And the beauty of Pinterest is that obviously you can share the pins. Talk a little bit about how you're able to use Pinterest for business to get them back to your website.
That's the main thing, is like what I said, is making sure that you put the URL with the image to direct them to your website. And the key is that you have to have a good website. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I find time and time again that people really don't have a lot of images on their website. So you need good images on your website, even if it's a service. For example, my business is a service. But I still have images on my website so that I have a place, I can put those images on Pinterest and they can click on it and they can go to a specific place on my website to get additional information. For example, my website has like almost 60 pages.
Wow, that's a lot of pages.
Yeah, but that's because I know that people's attention span is very short. And when someone goes to a website, they're going there to find what they were looking for. And if they go there and they can't find it within 8 seconds or 5 seconds, they're gone. So whatever they click on, so if they click on an image that's about travel, then I want them to go somewhere on my website to where it's talking about the travel industry, not just sending them to, the homepage or the contact us page, somewhere where they can get additional valuable information. And if you have a product, that's a no-brainer. For example, the jewelry company that I've been managing their account for, they have, of course, tons of images of engagement rings. It's really dangerous for me to be looking at all these beautiful rings, because then I'll start wanting one of them.
Well, who wouldn't want diamonds?
I know. And I have a travel company. I said, it's really not good. I'm wanting diamonds and travel. But what I do is I take those images and I make nice images for Pinterest, make pins out of them, and I write a description, and I have the URL to where they can go directly to the website and get additional information about that specific ring. And so, to me, if you sell a product, Pinterest to me is just a no-brainer, because the people on Pinterest are there to see what they want to buy. And I think today I did a Facebook Live and I made the statement of that Pinterest is making all these improvements to where it's becoming more and more like a catalog of images, like the Sears catalog. I said people that are old enough to remember this. And, I thought about how you'd get, even if you were not planning on ordering anything from Sears, you would get that catalog and look at it to see what you did want to buy, And so that's the way people are on Pinterest. They're there looking to see and to get ideas and to see what they'd like to buy. And so if they click on that link and they go to your website, then you have a lead of someone that's interested in your company and your product or your service.
Wow, that's really phenomenal because, I mean, Facebook is powerful, but images, I mean, it's an old saying, an image is a photo is worth 1,000 words. And I think that's really true. Tell me more about your program that you've developed. You talk about you have a co-op program.
Yes, what in working with some realtors and some a couple of contractors and so forth, I got to thinking about how really in that industry, for example, a contractor, they have certain stagers that they use to stage properties or whatever, or they have a certain company that supplies their doorknobs, those kinds of things. And I thought the pain points for Pinterest are time or money. Either they say they don't have the money to pay me or they don't have the time to do it themselves. So what if you got these people that you work with all the time and you did one Pinterest account, and on that one Pinterest account, you highlighted all these different services, and then that way you could share the burden of posting pins on there, because of course the key to Pinterest is that, or any social media as far as that is concerned, is that you have to be consistent. And so, the person that does landscaping could be responsible to make sure that X number of pins are pinned on Monday. The person that installs swimming pools could make sure that boards that relate to them are pinned on Tuesday. So you see, you're sharing that burden of the time factor. And that way it's not as cumbersome, to keep up with it. Because I find that that's where people really fall down, is they run out of time to be consistent with pinning. And then what I do, I did this with one group, and what I do is I charge a monthly fee to oversee it all and make sure, like send reminders to the person that is supposed to pin on Tuesday, and then make sure that they do. If they don't, I make sure something is pinned, to be the manager, say, of the people. And that way the cost that I charge them is a lower fee than what I would charge if I were managing the account for them. But they're getting a lot of bang for their buck because it's being done daily and that consistency is there.
So speaking of pinning consistency, what is the formula that people should be following to get the biggest, like you said, bang for the buck? Like, is there a rhythm that you should be following?
Well, you have to be on there daily. And, it's like with any social media, they say the big days and times are. The big days for Pinterest really are the weekend, because people, have time then to sit and look and browse for a long period of time. But also you need to, my formula is that you pin 15 to 20 repins of, repinning other people's pins from their Pinterest accounts. And that's to develop a relationship with these people. And then I say you need to have at least 5 organic pins. And that's where I, create the pin, upload the pin. And, that's to me the money ones, so to speak. So you have to do both. Because if you're just repinning other people's pins, then you're just advertising for other people, because it has their URL. And so when they click on that pin, they're going to go to that person's website. So for example, if I repinned one of your pins, then what happens is somebody clicks on it, they're going to your website, not to mine. So that's why you need to make sure that you do the, creating your own pins, pinning from your website, because those are the ones that are going to get you the leads to then follow up and make the sale to.
So two purposes. Repinning helps you develop relationships with other people who
Right.
often reciprocate so that you're growing that relationship base. And then the other part is to create what you call the money pins, which are the pins that are your pins that lead back to your website, which should be leading back to your money pages where you're actually selling
Exactly.
a product. That's
Exactly.
that's really good tips. So, in your experience, what type of companies really benefit from Pinterest?
Really, any company that has a product, Pinterest is perfect for. And, a lot of people think it's just products that relate to women, but that's definitely not true. I mean, Home Depot is on Pinterest, Lowe's is on Pinterest, Men's Health Magazine is on Pinterest. And those companies would not be on there unless they saw a benefit. And so, any company that has a product that's perfect. Services are, there's a lot of services that would do well on Pinterest, especially when you're talking about somebody like, a realtor or somebody in the construction industry, those types of things, a travel agent. And the top categories, oh, and I should have said weddings. The top categories in Pinterest are housing, travel, and weddings. And of course, food. But so to me, if you're any way related to those industries, why aren't you on Pinterest?
Yeah, that would make sense. So, housing, travel, weddings, and food. So, if you let's just say, let's reverse engineer that and we go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Restaurants
Yeah.
and bars in a local community could do very well on Pinterest.
Yes.
Anyone in the wedding industry, but photographers, clothing,
Yeah.
flowers,
Yeah.
venues, resorts, uh, any travel industry. I mean, that's unlimited. If you have any place, like I live in a beautiful little fishing village, so they could have a Pinterest for all the cool destination things that people could do. And then, of course, housing and all of the related industries to housing. For example, today, I having my yard cleaned up, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I should have taken photographs of the before so that people could see the after, because it was like phenomenal difference of just cleaning out, overgrowth
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So that's really fascinating. You
Well,
brought
better
up
yet, that company should have taken pictures.
you brought up the topic of men, and tell me some of the myths surrounding Pinterest, because when it first started, I think they said that Pinterest was what, women 25 to 54 or something, and 80% of the people on Pinterest were women. How has that demographic changed today?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Pinterest was first started in Utah, and it was when it first started, it was started for women, and that's how it earned that reputation. But And the statistics now still are like 70% women and 30% men. But over the past year, Pinterest has put forth a lot of effort to attract more men. And 40% of the people that have signed up for Pinterest accounts over the past year have been men. So that number is definitely growing. And of course, I always say, hey, who makes the decisions about buying things anyway? The females do. Uh, and, I think about whether it's, at the house, a wife, husband and wife deciding what they're going to do to remodel the house or whatever, or even in business. A lot of times they will ask the secretary or somebody like that, to recommend somebody or what should they do and that sort of thing. So, but it has grown, and in male viewership. And as a matter of fact, a couple of times just recently, I've had guys say, "I'm on Pinterest all the time."
Well, again, I think that visual people, I think, isn't that the highest number of people who are visual
Yes,
learners?
75% of the people are
So it
visual
makes
learners.
sense that if you're someone who's visual, that you would love Pinterest. And again, back in the day, I actually wrote a book called Pinterest for Business. So I just laugh because I really focus my energies on Facebook. But let's say that you're somebody who really likes Facebook. How do you integrate your Pinterest and your Facebook? How do you use that? I heard you mention Facebook Live. So,
Yes, I use Facebook Live, and I started when Facebook Live began. I started playing around with it, I guess you would say, because you have to kind of learn. And so now what I've started doing is on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. I do a Facebook Live, and I was doing how to use Pinterest with different businesses. And then I started talking about like how to set up your account and so forth. And so what I'm trying to do is to share information. Now, with those Facebook Live videos, I then share those to my Facebook group. I also upload the video to YouTube, and I can share that on my Pinterest account. And so you see, you can really repurpose it. The other thing is that you can actually share pins from Pinterest onto your Facebook account. So if, for example, I might have a tip on one of my Pinterest boards for people that are in the travel industry. And so what I'll do is I will share that tip from my Pinterest board onto my Facebook page. And then, say something along the lines of, if you're in the travel industry, for more tips like this, visit my Pinterest board. And so that's getting your social medias to all work together. And you can tweet about your pins too. You can actually send the link and so forth and tweet it from Pinterest. So that's how you can integrate all of them together and help to where each one is helping you to build the other.
I think that's a really good point because I was actually wondering about videos, and so you answered that question because you said you do your Facebook Live and then you download that and then you upload it to YouTube and then share it over with Pinterest, and then you can share your Pinterest pins on Facebook. So you have the best of all worlds there because you can utilize Facebook, which is your largest social media platform, with Pinterest, which is probably one of the fastest growing visual mediums. And of course, when you mix everything together, plus you're using state of the art with Facebook Live, so you
Right.
are also positioning yourself as a leader in not only Pinterest, but also in the use of Facebook Live, which I think is a really good place to be. Tell me a little bit more about, you mentioned that some people, they don't use Pinterest or because of time or money. Why else do you think that people maybe shy away from it? You've solved the problem with your co-op system, I think, in a lot of ways. What are some other ideas about Pinterest? What are some like preconceived notions that people have?
I think that the main thing is that it's for women only. That's one of the main preconceived things. And along those same lines is that there's just recipes and arts and crafts on there. And people truly do not understand Pinterest and how it works. and they don't bother to research and to see what all it has. And that's why, I have found that anytime I speak to a group, people go away just, they're amazed because they have no idea that, you can do all these things on Pinterest. And they have no idea that, all these different categories are on Pinterest. And so it's lack of knowledge about the platform. And, like you said about Facebook, a lot of business owners go to Facebook because they're familiar with it, and so, and they kind of understand it and so forth. So they're like, okay, I'm going to set up a Facebook business account. When really, for example, I have managed accounts for a major hotel. Well, if you're in that industry, people are going on Pinterest and planning their vacations. Why not be on Pinterest and really, and look at the demographics of, Facebook versus, Pinterest versus Instagram, any of the social platforms. And I think that a lot of people don't do the research and see what what the demographics are, and then choose the one that best fits their particular industry. And I will say along those lines, there's a lot of people that are social media managers that say they do it all, Facebook, Twitter, all that, and they badmouth Pinterest because they don't understand it, and therefore that keeps a lot of business owners from even considering using it. I was at a forum in Tampa and about social media, and the moderator of the place was, interviewing these business people, and they were asking them different questions, and they made the comment, don't, except for Pinterest, I'm over Pinterest. It's not any good. And I thought, wow, but it's lack of knowledge because they don't understand it. And so therefore they don't explore it to see how valuable it really is.
Huh. Isn't that interesting how people have these preconceived notions? I've been in the social media industry since 2009, and I never badmouth any platform because platforms all have different personalities. And
exactly.
I know people who love Twitter, and I know other people who hate Twitter, and I know people who like LinkedIn, and and everything. I always I helped a jewelry store make their Pinterest page because it just made perfect sense to me how to do that. So can you talk a little bit about the Pinterest wasn't always designed as a business tool. Didn't it originally start out as just like I don't know, like a social pinning club, like something, and then they added the business components?
Yes, it started out, as I said, it originated in Utah. And if you think about it, in Utah, it's a very large Mormon population.
Yes.
And the women don't really get out in the public, but yet at the same time, they want to generate some revenue. So this was a platform where they could share ideas and, different arts and crafts and things. And that's how it all got started. And I'm sure that business owners like me, and I think it was December of 2011, something like that, I was visiting a friend, and she asked me, had I joined Pinterest? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she was like, oh, it's really great, but you have to be invited to join. I'll send you an invitation, and it might take a while, but you'll get accepted. And I'm like, okay, the secret club. So she did, and I joined. And being a former economics instructor, all of a sudden, these people were like following me, and repinning my things, and I was seeing all this traffic, and I thought, if I were a business owner, this would be such a great venue to highlight my business. And so at that point in time, I was looking at retiring from teaching. And, by then it was 2012. And I like to be, on the ground floor of things. And so I thought, I'm going to make that my niche, and began researching and so forth, and learning how to use it. And at first, Pinterest kind of fought it. They didn't want to go the business route, but then they realized that it was a good idea. And so they developed the business accounts. And when I think about what I told clients, and when I first started out versus what I say now, it's just a world of difference, because the platform has just made so many changes and so many improvements. Just in the last week, they added a new feature. And so, they monetized it. And another thing I have to bring up about Pinterest is that, if for no other reason, this is a reason that you should be on Pinterest. Pinterest is excellent for your SEO. And because the gentleman that started Pinterest worked for Google. So the Google bots have full access to Pinterest. And what that means is that they can go in there very easily and index things, and those little bots that are running around that get us on that front page of Google really like Pinterest, because things are in groups, because you have the different categories. All the housing stuff is together, all the fashion stuff is together, and so forth. And when you do a search on Google, you will notice that on that first page, a lot of times are people's Pinterest accounts come up. And, that's the reason why. So, to me, I would have a presence on Pinterest even if I were a lawyer, because that's an industry that there's not a whole lot you could do with Pinterest. But, I would have that presence there to help me with my SEO, and just to, have my name out there.
Well, I think that's actually a really good point, because non-traditional businesses who may not be inclined for visual things, they actually, if they would sit down and talk with you, for example, you could probably say, well, let's brainstorm this.
Exactly.
And let's talk about how we could come up with some different boards that people could enjoy looking at, and yet they'll lead back to you, and
right.
You could be educating people. What about cars?
There's a whole category on cars on Pinterest. Yes. There's muscle cars on there, vintage cars on there. Oh, yeah.
Because it's funny, because I actually was talking to a car guy the other day, and, I was just thinking about how I can help him, and I'm thinking, whoa, he should be on Pinterest, because I can see, car dealers have they'll take photographs of their cars and different things, and how cool would it be if they had the boards, and even if the car gets sold, it still goes back and they're on the website. Now they're going to go look at your other cars.
Exactly.
So that's pretty interesting.
And the great part about Pinterest, the two things that Pinterest really has the other social medias hands down beat on, is that, one, the shelf life of a pin, because an image that I put up there 3 years ago may be repinned today, and that happens quite often. And the other thing is, Pinterest is very viral, and that's because if I repin one of your pins, then all of my people, there's the potential for them to see it. And then if 2 or 3 of the people that are following me repin that pin, then their followers. So you see it exponentially start spreading. And so you have the opportunity to get your name in front of more people, because that's what marketing is all about. It's getting your name in front of people. Yeah.
Right. Well, absolutely. Because think about it. If you're using Pinterest, every one of those images has a life of its own.
Yes.
And the more images you have and the more consistent you are, the better. And just like you said, Anna, it isn't limited to just women and recipes and food. There
Right.
are Fortune 100 companies using Pinterest, men's magazines, media, I mean, you name it. If you look at the reality of the marketing world, they are using Pinterest. So it's like, you know, people need to really start looking at that. So tell me, if people want to work with you or find out more about you, where can they find out more?
The best place would be to go to my website, which is pinterestpro.com. And on there, you know, there are the links to my Facebook page, my LinkedIn account, my Twitter, my Pinterest account, of course, you know, and you could then, you know, link there. Also on my website, there is a place for you to schedule an appointment, because I give 30-minute consultations free of charge to talk to a potential person, you know, client about, is Pinterest good for you? How could you use it? And so forth. So they could sign up for that there too.
Wow. So did you want to give anyone anything today?
Yes, definitely. I have a video. It's an online course of how to set up your business account and what you need to think about when you're setting up that account. You know, a lot of people, when they're doing it, they don't really think about what they're doing as far as, you know, including keywords and so forth. And so I will provide the link and password and all for that. And that will be my gift to them.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, thank you so much, Anna. I really appreciate all the time you took with me today. And people, you need to go check out Pinterest and pinterestpro.com, because if you're in business, you need to talk to Anna so that you can learn how to use it. Because I think that if once you understand the power, you'll be having they call it a B8 moment, when you go, I should have talked to Anna, the Pinterest pro, because I could have been making money off of simple images of my products.
Right.
I mean, how crazy is that when you think about it? So Anna, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very much. And remember that I give the free 30-minute consultations also. So I would love for you to sign up so that I could talk to you about it.
Thanks. This is Tami Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tami Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.